Hello again, welcome to another story time, and I've got another good story all about Terence the Tractor. This might be based on something familiar. You'll see. This is a story about Terence the Tractor. When Thomas met Terence ploughing a field, he was very rude to him, but when snow came to Sodor, Thomas found out about Terence's caterpillar tracks and that they could be really useful. Autumn had come to the island of Sodor. Leaves were changing from green to brown, and the fields were changing too, from yellow stubble to brown earth. As Thomas puffed along, he heard a chug, chug, chug of a tractor at work close by. "Hello," said Thomas to the tractor. "I'm Thomas. I'm pulling a train." "Hello," said the tractor. "My name is Terence. I'm ploughing." "What ugly wheels you've got," said Thomas. "They're not ugly. They're caterpillars," said Terence. "I can go anywhere. I don't need rails." "I don't want to go just anywhere," replied Thomas huffily. "I like my rails, thank you very much." The next time Thomas saw Terence ploughing a field, he called out to him, "You missed a bit. Over there in the corner. Silly old tractor," he whistled rudely. Terence carried on ploughing and didn't reply. Winter came with it. Dark, heavy clouds full of snow. A snowplow was fixed to Thomas, but it was heavy and uncomfortable. He hated it. He shook it and banged it until it was so dented that eventually it had to be taken off. "You're a very naughty engine," his driver said, and he shut the door that night. The next morning, the driver and fireman worked hard to mend the snowplow, but they couldn't make it fit properly, so Thomas had to set off without it. "I don't need that stupid old thing," he said to himself. "Snow is silly soft stuff. It won't stop me." As he rode along, the snow kept making his wheels spin, and he found it quite a struggle. He passed Terence in the field. "You seem to be having some trouble out there," called out Terence. "It's a pity you don't have caterpillars. Then the snow wouldn't bother you." This time it was Thomas who didn't reply. Silly soft stuff," puffed Thomas, as he continued on his journey and rushed into a tunnel. At the other end, he saw a heap of snow fallen on the sides of the cutting. "Stupid old snow," said Thomas, and charged it. "Cinders and ashes," said Thomas as he ground to a halt. "I'm stuck." And he was. "Oh, my wheels and coupling rods," said Thomas sadly. "I shall have to stay here till I'm frozen." And he began to cry. Just then, who should come chugging along but Terence the Tractor. "I heard you were in trouble," said Terence, "so I've come to help." First, Terence pulled Annie and Clarabelle away from the snowdrift. "Thank you, Terence, thank you," they said. They were very relieved to be free of the snow, and were sorry that Thomas had been so rude to Terence. Next, Terence came back for Thomas. He pulled and pulled, but Thomas was buried so deeply in the snow that Terence wasn't strong enough to move him. I shall never escape, thought Thomas sadly. The driver and fireman tried to dig the snow away from Thomas. As fast as they dug, more snow slipped down. At last, Thomas's wheels were clear, and they were still spun helplessly when he tried to move. Terence tugged and slipped and tugged, and eventually, with most enormous effort, he dragged Thomas clear of the snow into the tunnel. Thomas was very grateful. Thank you, Terence, he said. I think your caterpillars are splendid. I'm sorry I was rude to you before. My caterpillars are certainly useful, said Terence, but I can't go very fast. I couldn't pull a passenger train like you can, Thomas. Well, my wheels wouldn't be much use for ploughing a field, replied Thomas. And with that, Terence returned to his farm while Thomas puffed tightly back to the engine shed. From then on, Thomas and Terence were good friends. Whenever they passed each other, they always exchanged a cheerful greeting, and they were never rude to each other ever again. That's a good story, based on a certain episode, a Don't Judge a Book by its cover story. That's how Thomas learned that snowplows were important. A good adaptation for these library stories. Thank you for listening. I'm sure you liked it, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Goodbye.